Greetings, Forceketeers, and welcome back to Mando Night Football, coming direct from the unknown regions. We missed you guys. We're back for another season of The Mandalorian on Disney+. So it's me, Mike, and joining us is the full crew is Ernie, Joel, and Chris. Guys, it's good to see your faces.
Yichuta!
Oh my God, we're back! Season 2! Yes! I gotta make some puns. Yes.
It felt like a long time. Like,
you know, Mike, you said that you were missing us. Well, what if we missed the Mandalorian more?
That's okay. To be honest, I miss the Mandalorian more than you guys. So
yeah.
Fair enough.
Yeah, definitely fair.
But man, it has been a while since we've talked Mando, because a lot of stuff has happened since the season finale last year, right?
I can't believe it's last year. Jeez.
I mean, what a year it's been, right? But I mean, just the amount of just the merchandise that's come out has been insane, you know?
Yeah.
Like, just toys everywhere. How many Baby Yodas does everybody have?
I mean, you can't
Multiples.
walk down a Target aisle without seeing one just like put away.
No, I meant for like all you guys. Like, Ernie, how many Baby Yodas do you have?
I can't tell you.
Yeah.
Joel,
I'm not talking about babies right now, okay?
All right.
Okay,
All right,
but
Chris, how many Baby Yodas do you have?
Not enough.
Not enough. See, I only have one, and it's the Black Series Baby Yoda.
Oh yeah.
You know, it's
a little tiny
impressive. It's impressive though, because I mean, that was something we talked about, how well they kept the Baby Yoda under wrap, the child, and now it's like exploded, and I think it's for a good reason. They kept that under wraps for a long time, and it was such a big surprise, and it was a hit. So
yeah.
I think it was the Disney version of the Manhattan Project, okay? You have all these people working on this series with Baby Yoda or the child. Let's use the proper term, right?
Yeah, he's still the child. Let's all remember.
Yes. And somehow Disney kept it under wraps, because I was not spoiled on that, and my God, I'm all over the internet. So amazing. Good job, Disney.
well, I'm that gives me a lot of hope though for this season. Just what kind of things they'll be secrets and all that stuff, so it's exciting, and just still impressed that they kept Baby Yoda under wraps. So
Yeah, there's that, but it's just like I said before, I think The Mandalorian is the best thing that has happened to Star Wars since the Disney purchase of Lucasfilm.
Since Star Wars Rebels, okay.
No, yeah, we can debate. That's what we do as podcasters, right?
It's not up for debate. It's the best since Star Wars Rebels. But yeah, there's just been so much stuff. Like, the other thing is the Hasbro, the HasLab Razor Crest. Have you guys seen that?
yes, I have.
Oh my God. And that thing like funded in one day. It's $350. I think it actually closes this week. So if people don't have their backing in, by the time this episode goes out, you probably already missed it. But man, that thing is just gorgeous.
Oh, wow.
I really want one, but I can't afford it. Actually,
That was Mike, by the way.
I can afford it, but I can't place it anywhere. But man, that thing is... that is so good.
The Razor Crest in general is just such a cool ship, and it's got such a cool name. I mean, it's a home run.
Yeah. I just like the retro aspect of it, right? Because it feels like original trilogy stuff, and that's just amazing. And it's the way they shoot it.
It feels like an old RV.
Yeah.
You know,
but it's not like Spaceballs, but it's kind of like Spaceballs in a way.
It's not Spaceballs RV, but it definitely feels and evokes that. I think the only other merch I have is I finally got a Mando Black Series figure and Cara Dune action figure.
Oh, cool.
Nice. Like, I've been keeping it pretty light on my Star Wars buying lately, but I got to get the new Beskar Armor Mando figure that's been dropping, and I keep going back and forth on that Razor Crest. I really want it, and it's one of those things. It's like, if I don't buy it now, I'm never gonna get it.
Yeah. It'd be one of those things that you'd see at like Celebration that'd be way too much money.
Well, I mean, that's the thing. It's being kickstarted, so they're only making the ones for people who are backing it. Yeah. So if you don't back it, that's it. Like, speak now or forever hold your peace kind of thing. And what's been crazy is that as it kept breaking records with how fast it's been backed, like they keep adding more things. So they added like the escape pod. They added all the little carbonite slabs of prisoners to keep inside of it. They added because the ship is 3.7 inch scale, so it's for the small Star Wars figures, not the Black Series ones. But they added a 3.75 inch scale Baby Yoda, so he's like microscopic.
Mike, let me ask you a question here, since you are the resident toy expert among us. How are you feeling on the fact that it's one of the backed up projects that fans have to pay for versus finding it in the store at like Target?
Honestly, this is the only way. This is the way that they're going to do it. It's the only way that they're going to be able to get this kind of a product out. It's so expensive to make toys and vehicles. It's why you don't really see vehicles in at Targets and Walmarts anymore, because they don't have the retail space for it. So you have, like if we still had Toys R Us, we probably would get it at retail.
Rest in peace.
Rest in peace, Toys R Us. But since we don't have that anymore, there's no way for Hasbro to economically for themselves get this out. So doing this kind of direct to consumer, like, hey, tell us you want it, show us you want it by giving us your money, we'll make this for you. And I personally like that model because it teaches the toy companies that like people will pay for your thing if you offer that to them. So yeah, I mean, I'm for it. Like the toy industry needs to evolve, and this is a way for them to do it.
Yeah,
I also think that it's good that they're doing it because honestly, the Star Wars merchandising line for just general toys like that needs to really step it up too. Because I mean, I don't know about you guys, but aside from the Black Series, there's not really been, and even those are sometimes hit or miss with some of the face sculpts. But aside from that, there's the toys just really aren't what they used to be, and they don't do, I mean, what I feel like they used to do back in the days of the prequels. And maybe this is like a good sign, like a new way to, like you said, just evolve and do something different.
Well, I mean, but that's the thing is like the toys fundamentally are the same that have been coming out for 20, 30 years. It's that toys, just collectors have changed and our tastes have changed. Star Wars is always kind of back before Disney, like Star Wars toys used to be just kind of everything. Granted, like it was tied to the movies, but also you got a lot of wild and out there characters, and that kind of slowed down after Disney bought it, and then also the toy lines really kind of lined up with the movies, because that was the big thing.
Yeah.
Like we got so much Disney content or Disney Star Wars content in the 5 years that they've been putting it out. We've really caught up to prequel levels of stuff. Now the only problem is the movies being what they were, people had varying opinions of it, and the merchandise wasn't selling as much. So you're right, like that in that sense, like the toys have changed. But I think with Mando specifically, you're giving the toy buying collectors something that they want, because as much as like I love Holdo from The Last Jedi, nobody really wants to buy her figure. But you put Cara Dune out, and that speaks to the toy buying collector a little bit more.
Yeah.
So I think they're trying to figure out where to go. Plus, you don't have, even like we don't have movies to tie things to right now, so the toy lines can kind of go wherever they want. So,
and I think you kind of hit it on the nail, kind of jumping away from the toy stuff now, is that it seems like the streaming shows are going to be the new way to go with Star Wars. Say what you will about the latest trilogy, But everybody seems to be on board with where it's going now, and I think Joel is on board with it more than anything out of all of us. But I think this is it. This is the answer. I think that we've all been wanting because we need the universe to expand a lot more.
Yeah, I love the Westerns, and I'm not a toy guy, just to go back to the toy thing. But what I'm curious about is that are we going to get like a Mandalorian lunchbox? You know, like it's something I can take to work, right? That's the most important thing. When we get like a Kenobi series, I want to buy that, the lunchbox, right? Because it takes me back to being a kid, right?
They have several.
Yeah. They're just saying, make sure. I'm sure they're competent, Disney and all that, and Lucasfilm, that they're on this. But I will collect toys too if I could afford it. But I'm just going to stick to lunch pails.
They have several. They have Baby Yoda ones. They have. I'm looking at one with Kuil.
Really?
And IG-11 on it. Yeah, that one's available at Target. They have it. Like the merch machine is going. Oh, yeah. It's just people are focusing on the big ones being the toys.
Right.
And I don't know. There's a lot of toy speculation by people who aren't as much as into toys.
Yeah.
And that's fine. I would never gatekeep this. I want to try and help everybody understand the way the toys companies work.
But there's a question there, right? We're talking about these TV shows. Do you think the TV shows, Star Wars TV shows, will have the same lasting influence than, say, the movies? Because the movies, said the toys will be, there's a toy line that's connected to whatever movie that's released. Whereas with TV, traditionally, we watch it, it fades away, we might revisit down the road for some sort of reunion, but yeah. What do you guys think?
It depends. Because take the 3 Star Wars cartoons that we've had so far, Clone Wars, Rebels, and Resistance. Out of those 3, look at which one is the most fondly remembered. It's Clone Wars.
Yeah.
And for the longest time, Clone Wars was the only main Star Wars that we were getting. That was the official George Lucas. He was working on this only thing. Since then, since Disney took over, like I said, we've gotten so much Star Wars content in 5 years. We've had 2 TV shows in between 6 movies or 5 movies, and it's just it didn't feel as special. Whereas, like, I love Rebels. Rebels is probably my favorite piece of Star Wars content, other than Mando and Rogue One. That's my top 3. But Rebels doesn't have the same oomph, the same cultural zeitgeist that Clone Wars has.
Yeah.
And it should, because it's a lot of the same crew. The literally only thing that is different is that it doesn't have George Lucas, And so I think as far as staying power, I think as we get older, Rebels will start to see more love. Like, it still gets it. It ended 3 years ago? 4 years ago?
Yeah.
God, has it been that long already?
Yeah. It's crazy.
But it ended like 2 years ago. 2 years ago. I'm not that old. But
no, I'm that old. But
yeah. but like I said, kind of segueing into the reason why we're all here, I think Mandalorian's big thing is that it is the first Star Wars live action TV show, and that is what gives it its staying power. Like, that is the event, that is the thing that this show has over every other Star Wars show.
Yeah.
All of those have been animated so far. And I think the next biggest thing is, we're going to just dive into this episode now. Episode 9, The Marshal, directed by Jon Favreau. We're just going to jump into it because, the episode's already been out for almost a week now.
Yeah, it's just spoilers. Spoilers.
I mean,
you think?
Yeah, that's how spoiler talk is done on Monday. Okay. But the fact that Cobb Vanth is in this show, and Cobb Vanth was a book-only character, and not only was he a book-only character, he was he was in like 3 chapters. This is probably, I'm pretty sure this is the first time that we've ever had book canon go live action.
Well, Thrawn, yeah.
Up. We had Saw Gerrera from Clone Wars go to Rogue One, but we've never had like a book only character move up to basically the highest level.
I think that's what Damon said on Star Wars Explained. So I think you're correct on that.
Like, because I wasn't even thinking about Cobb Vanth until, like, Alex was mentioning it, because it's like, oh, like, that's really cool. And then just the fact that we got him in this episode, that's just insane. And not only that, I love him. He's like my new favorite.
Dude, I love it too, because he's not going to be one of those main characters that has a main storyline, a main movie, but he's just one of those characters that fits into Star Wars lore that fans go crazy over. He is like the new Boba Fett.
I've been saying that Cobb Vanth is the coolest that Boba Fett has ever been.
Yes,
hands down.
Agree. And it was funny too, because the first shot of him was him in the Mandalorian armor, the famous Boba Fett armor, but it looked funny. It looked funny on him, and then we kind of get the reveal that it's Timothy Olyphant, and Timothy Olyphant is basically playing his character from Justified.
Oh no! He's playing his character from Deadwood. Get it right.
Yeah, he's playing from Deadwood.
Okay.
Whoa. But he's just such a slick character.
Oh, wow.
He's got like this kind of chill kind of peace to him, and I think everybody's behind this guy because of his morals. He's got this moral barometer that he is for the people. He knows, and we're finding out more about this character, even if you haven't read the books. His background, he was a slave, and so to kind of see where he's at now, he's the sheriff, he's the marshal. People fell in love with this character right away. I knew Mike was going to say his name right away too, because I think we all want to talk about this guy.
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah, and the best part is that when he feels threatened, what does he do? He buys alcohol. And there's a bar scene. Oh, you're a real Mandalorian. You know how to kill people very good. You're good at violence. Let's sit down and have a drink, shall we? And talk this out. That's maturity. That's emotional maturity right there for a character.
I remember when I was hearing rumors about Timothy Olyphant playing this character, because it was out there and being talked about. And in the back of my mind, I was worried that maybe they would try to go a little over the top, because the rumors were right that he was going to be Boba Fett, but not really. He's just going to have the armor, and he was going to somehow get it. And a lot of people have criticized that Boba Fett is just not a cool character, and that he's just there for just a supporting thing, and that he's not actually that badass like everybody says he is. And the fact that they kind of just played him really smooth, and just to be what Boba Fett should always be thought of, really, when you think about it, it really impressed me.
Yeah, like just the swagger, just the second he took off that helmet and just that perfect hair, like everything about him was just like, this is an awesome looking Star Wars character.
And also he took off the helmet. Oh, wait a second, right? You got what was going through Mando's head, right? Like, who's this imposter, right? I think that's foreshadowing. Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. It's foreshadowing something that's going to happen this season, right? I love that.
And something I wanted to bring up too, because obviously, Mike and I are big fans of Star Wars Explained, and Alex Damon is just an uber Star Wars nerd. He was mentioning that Mando, Din, looks at Timothy Olyphant's character as kind of, the honor to wear that armor just because of what he's doing. And there's a little bit more meaning to Mandalorian armor than just being a Mandalorian.
Yeah.
It's more of the fight for the people and do what's right and kind of honor the armor, if anything.
Well, I mean, I think we kind of have to dive into it a little bit. Like, does Din know that armor? Does he recognize it?
Question.
And even then, like, does he know about the whole Fett's not being real Mandalorians thing? And even then, is that real Beskar armor anyway?
That's another question. Yeah,
like we don't know a whole lot about Boba Fett's armor in the canon, and I think we were talking. I was talking to my wife about it because when we were watching it, she's like, "Oh, like there's no way that he would know that that's Boba Fett's armor," and it's like, "You're right." She's like, "Oh, because it doesn't have a sigil, but it does. It has the little leaf on his chest." Now, whether or not that's his actual Mando sigil or not, because remember, Fett also wore the mythosaur that all the Mandos use.
Yeah.
So, like there's a lot of, we talked about this a lot last season too. Like, there's a lot of changes to Mandalorians in this show, just different than how we've always seen them, and that's fine. Let them change it, but it's like there's like 6 different kinds of Mandalorians that we've seen between Clone Wars, Rebels, and this.
I just thought this episode was a fait accompli.
God.
Fuck yeah! I'm making puns in French now.
Working on that the whole time.
I basically was the last 10 seconds. But yeah, his armor is amazing, and the fact that it's misplaced. It's kind of like the whole a magical item in the whole crest thing, right? Through storytelling, instead of the sword, we have the armor and the meaning behind the armor. So we're getting right down to the whole legacy myths, Joseph Campbell's school of storytelling. That's cool in my books.
So we got the big one out of the way, Boba Fett's armor. Anyone else pick up on how fan servicey this episode was?
Yes, for better or for worse.
I'm not complaining. It was fun, but like I was like that gif of Leonardo DiCaprio, like ooh, like every time something came up, like R5, coming, being in the shop. I am so glad that Pelly came back, and that Amy Sedaris came back to play this character, because she was
pretty happy about that too.
She was my favorite characters in the first season.
Pit droids,
the little pit droids, like those were fun to see again. I love the one that got the hose stuck on its face. Just cracked us up.
That was such a George Lucas type of humor too. I kind of chuckled a little bit.
Like they feel like it. Yeah. That's the kind of stuff from the prequels that I liked. It just, this whole episode just felt like cool stuff. Did anybody else? Because I had seen some people didn't notice it, but I noticed it right away that Cobb's speeder bike was Anakin's pod racer.
Yeah, I noticed it. It got the same feelings, the same vibe. I wasn't too sure about the device itself.
Not confirmed. It's not confirmed, but that was pretty much Anakin's pod racer.
Yeah, that's what I was going to ask, because I did see that it was a pod racing engine, but I just wasn't sure if it was Anakin's or not.
Anakin's is very specific looking with those fins. It has pronged fins. This one only had 2. So it, like I said, it's not.
There was a moment too where Din kind of like looked at him. It was almost like us as fans looking at that engine and going, "Huh, I know that one."
or just like this guy. But I love just the design of it, of how like the seat was on the side of the pod, not on the pod.
Yeah.
Like it really just looked like a chop shop kind of kit bash job.
Crate dragons.
Yeah. How about that? Crate dragon.
Yeah.
You know what? What did you think? What did you think of like the sandworm tremors crate dragon?
I loved it.
Versus like the lizard crate dragon that we've seen in Legends before.
No, I think this works, especially for the type of episode it was and how they had to defeat it. Sorry, and just a little side note. Do you think they were using the actual clip from the original trilogy for the Crate Dragon? Lore?
I didn't hear it, but going back to Alex on Star Wars Explained, like he mentioned, it sounds like all 3 Crate Dragons mixed together. So like every time, like the original, the special editions, and the one that's currently available streaming on now Disney Plus, it sounds like a mixture of all 3. Which, if that's true, is really, really cool.
It's really, really cool.
It's just clever. Fun. It's just a clever way to make all of that canon, like make those changes canon.
Oh, just to really finish my point too, because that was a little side note, but I think the way the anatomy of the Crate Dragon, it actually works for Tatooine itself. The way Tatooine is built, there's nothing really around but sand and rock. It makes sense to me. The way
to be like a Tremors,
like a snake type creature almost. It made sense to me, at least.
Yeah, like the design makes sense, and it goes back because the only canon Krayt Dragon we'd ever seen was the skeleton in episode 4. So like it makes sense to kind of to use that as your base and build off of that, because like I said, like all the Krayt Dragons we've seen have always been lizards. There's the concept art with like the 6 legs, to the versions that we've seen in Knights of the Old Republic and Star Wars Galaxies that were basically like iguanas. But it was really, really cool to see it in action, and honestly, that looked so good compared to like a lot of the special effects we've seen in shows of this caliber, like Game of Thrones. I'm going to because of the dragons. This looks so much better than the dragons.
Yeah, and it didn't drag on at all. Dragon.
Moving on. Anyway,
Yeah, Joel. There he is.
Okay, wait.
You already had one.
Sorry. And before I forget, because we're talking about fan service stuff, how cool that we saw, the Boba Fett's armor being used with the missile, right? Killing the mine.
It was a different missile. It was a different missile than the one from Return of the Jedi, but.
That makes sense.
But seeing that used like that, because I think the only time we'd ever actually seen that too was in Clone Wars and Rebels.
Right.
But seeing the viewfinder flick down, the sound effect, the targeting sound effect was the same one from the X-Wing. Okay. Like,
yeah, that takes me back as a child playing with a toy, right? It's just amazing, I
was going to say that's what that reminded me of, was the toy with the with the rocket launcher.
Mm.
Yes.
So cool.
But also like little inside jokes, like the smacking the back of Boba Fett's jetpack to make it take off.
Yeah.
Just stuff like that. Seeing the Sand People come back again with the sign language, like that was also just really cool.
Yeah. Did you guys notice that with the Sand People, it was in single lines?
Yeah, I noticed that right away.
I didn't notice it, but now that you mention it, I am thinking about it, and I'm like, they did. That's pretty cool.
They're hiding their numbers, and traveling on banthas. I love banthas. I did like the pit fights in the beginning, though, with the Gamorreans.
How about the using the gaffy stick as a toothbrush for the banthas? That was pretty cute. That was awesome. It's very versatile weapon, the gaffy stick.
The other fan servicey thing is obviously coming back to Tatooine. That is a big one as well.
But it felt different.
It did.
It didn't feel like a Tatooine that we've been to before.
Well, and what about the lore of seeing an empty Sarlacc pit, or not even a pit? It was just like where Sarlacc would live, because they mentioned that.
Honestly, like I'd seen people talk about that, but I don't remember it in the episode. I don't know if I blinked and it's gone, but I don't remember that part.
No, it's where
I think it was just half mentioned.
Yeah. Okay, because I remember seeing people talking about how there was like a dead Sarlacc or something, and that the Krayt Dragon had eaten it or something. But I don't remember there being a Sarlacc pit.
No, it's through dialogue it came out that way, right?
Yeah.
When they put the bantha there, say this is how we're going to feed the dragon to make him sleepy, right? And then of course,
that was a smart little piece of like lore too, making him sleepy. They know it's like his clock basically.
Yeah.
Well, and the fact that they have generational knowledge of how this monster operates, right? Versus the guy out of the whole old western town who doesn't know anything but just wants to shoot him, right? So it's something but generational knowledge, which is really cool to see.
The little alien, the little rat aliens that Baby Yoda was looking at in the cantina. I was very glad that I knew exactly what they were. They are called scurriers. They weren't womp rats, because we've never seen a womp rat in canon. But scurriers were from the special edition of Episode 4, when Luke and Obi-Wan are riding into town, and like the little rat things that run out of the way.
Oh yeah.
And I'm glad, because I don't know why I remembered exactly that they're called scurriers. So anyway, I was just really proud of myself. Gonna pat myself on the back there.
I was honestly, we mentioned Tatooine. I was kind of worried because I knew nothing about how the season was going to start. I didn't have any spoilers. I've seen the trailer just once, so like I had no idea what to expect. I had an idea when I saw the Marshal title because I knew about the Timothy Oliphant rumor, but that's really it. So I was not expecting to go back to Tatooine. And when I saw it, and then they brought, he landed in the landing spot, and then they're looking at the map, and they mentioned the two names that we all know, Mos Espa and Mos Eisley. I was like, well, do we really want to go back to Tatooine again? Like, really? I mean, this is the season premiere. Like, it should be something, a little bigger than that. But I think it took a little bit for it to get off its feet. But once it got running, it was just, A+ right till the end.
See, like I felt like this episode, like from the beginning, hit the ground running. Like I don't remember a slow part in this episode at all. Like or a part where like, because I'm guilty of it. Like I'll have my phone out and I like to look at stuff while it's on in the background, and I'll look back up when there's an explosion or something. But I didn't have that this entire time, so. It felt like, to me, that just means that like I was heavily invested in this episode.
Well, Mike, let me ask you this: did you come at it from a perspective of this is a season premiere, or this is a continuation from Chapter 8?
This felt like a season premiere. Like okay. It feels like enough time has passed since the end of the first season. It felt like he's traveling to do his stuff.
Because I almost feel like this was a very interesting way at tackling a season premiere. Because after I saw it, like I'll just give it away now. I really liked the episode, but it didn't feel like a proper premiere to me. And then I kind of had to just put it in the back of my mind. Okay, this is really this is almost for the people that are just continuing from Chapter 8. Like it's not really meant to be this big like epic beginning of the season, beginning of the show type thing. It's just a continuation.
It was pretty seamless.
Yeah, and when I thought about that, and once I sort of comprehended it, in fact, I watched the episode tonight before we recorded, and it's a lot better the second time. Whenever I had that in the back of my mind.
Yeah, I agree with
the
you,
more
Chris.
slow parts that I really glossed over the first time.
I think going back into it now, knowing what to expect, like the fan servicey stuff, like the fan servicey stuff like sticks out to you because it's like, oh wow, like they're actually doing all of this. But now watching it again, you can kind of sit back and absorb it as an episode. Like take yourself out of it as a super fan, and now you're just enjoying the story. And I think you're right. Like it does play better that second time.
And I was going to say, I agree with you, Chris. To me, I wouldn't say it didn't feel like a season premiere, because I did feel that inside, waiting for the new season to come about. But it did feel like it's just a continuation to me, which brought up a point for me that I was kind of concerned about how long they were going to hold the Western theme and like the solo gunman thing for a long time. But I loved it right away. The first shot of him is just like walking down the street with the street lamps, and I was like, "Yep, I'm sold. I'm done."
And Mos Pelgo just also felt like a super tiny town.
Yeah, they did a good job with that.
It only had one bar, so yeah, it was really tiny.
It had a schoolhouse too, apparently. Remember?
Exactly.
Yeah.
I did like that the way they killed the Krayt Dragon is almost exactly the way you kill the Krayt Dragon in Knights of the Old Republic, where you have to lure it out of the cave and then have it stand over a bunch of bombs.
Right.
Oh yeah.
In the game that kills the Krayt Dragon. So this one's a little bit tougher. But man, speaking of that fight, how freaking cool was it when just Cobb Vanth walks over, shoves the helmet on, and they both take off into the air. And this was a complaint I had during the first season, where like the jetpack scenes felt like guys on wires. This felt like flying.
Yeah.
And it was so cool watching them fly around together.
And I'm glad they didn't fly around a lot. Like just enough to get us to like, oh yeah, I remember he has the jetpack, but it did look better. It did look so much better.
Like I said, it didn't look like two guys on wires. Like it never had that. And whether it's just the stunt people were better or they just CG'd the whole thing, it felt good, and I was heavily invested in that.
What about the fact that they found an egg in the corpse, the carcass of the dragon?
It was a crate dragon pearl.
It's a pearl? Okay, tell me about that, because to me, as someone who perhaps needs to learn more of that, the finer points of Star Wars lore, right? Especially from the books, right? Okay, it took me back to the second episode of season 1 with the child, right? With the mud beast. I
mean, so a Krayt Dragon Pearl is another thing from Legends, also from Knights of the Old Republic. It's also in a lot of video games. The Krayt Dragon Pearl, it's a heavily sought after thing. They're very rare, and Jedi could use them for lightsaber crystals in Legends. In Star Wars Galaxies, that was a heavily sought after thing, was getting a Krayt Dragon Pearl for your crystal for your lightsaber in the game, so because that was really powerful. But yeah, seeing it in canon was really kind of cool too, because it's like they pull it out and I was like, Leonardo DiCaprio again, like, I know that.
I like that they humanized the Tusken Raiders a little bit more in this, because it's almost the way we would like look at Native Americans back in the day, the savages. But you watch something like Dances with Wolves, it humanized the Sioux tribe. I felt like this humanized the Tusken Raiders, and they're just trying to survive themselves. And you could almost see the point of the miners, but this time you kind of see the point of the Tusken Raiders. And I'm glad there was this tension, but also this very delicate balance of peace that needed to be worked out in order for this to be conquered, and both settlements to live harmoniously without being attacked by the same enemy.
Well, another thing is too, about this kind of humanization of the Tuskens, is it makes Anakin killing them in episode 2 that much more like, oh
yeah, okay,
this is, and that's bad now, because they weren't people before, but now, yeah. It makes that scene a little bit harsher.
Yeah, it does.
And especially when you have, like, when they were trying to bait the dragon out of its cave, right? You have these 3 Tusken warriors, and they go out and they howl and they yell at the creature to come out, right? What a brave act. Especially when a few scenes before we saw that monster eat a Tusken Raider, right? Okay, rather than a bantha, right?
It was great just watching the bantha.
Well, they added more tension to even just the hatred they had for each other, as far as the Tusken Raiders and the miners go, by adding that one scene where the Tusken Raider drops the bomb and they get angry. They did a really good job of that, and humanizing true emotion on how you would feel about somebody who's different from you.
Yeah, just all around, this was a great episode.
Solid episode.
Plus, we got more Jawas, right? And original Jawas at that.
Yeah,
right? Which of course relates back to the first season, right? Okay, kind of this tension with Mando, right? Oh, really? You bought this armor, this Beskar armor off the Jawas? Oh, really?
I think the important question to ask as we are winding down here: will we see more Cobb Vanth? That's the important question.
I hope so. I hope so. I don't expect it. Like, I would love for him to be the Cara Dune of this season.
Yeah.
And have him show up, to fight the big bad at the end. But I don't know, with him passing off Boba Fett's armor there, it kind of feels like that's the end of
his story.
That's the kind of end, as far as Mandalorian. Yeah, as far as Din's concerned, like, he doesn't really need to come back to Tatooine now. So unless Cobb leaves town because Mando calls him like he did for Cara, I don't think it's going to happen. Now, that said, we're probably going to see that armor again, because some other guy's probably going to be looking for that armor.
Yeah.
How about that cameo at the end? I mean, who'd have thought that Captain Fordo would show up on Tatooine? Right? Like, who'd have thought?
That was a cool little wink, I guess, at the camera, right?
I mean, okay, so like everybody knows, like Boba Fett was heavily rumored to be in this show at some point, and you know, it goes back to that episode with the gunslinger in the first season, the pair of boots walking up to Fennec Shan's body, and you hear the spurs. Now the thing is that's Boba Fett's sound effect, but also Cobb Vanth has the spurs.
Yeah.
So who was that walking up to Fennec Shan?
I guess we'll find out soon enough.
Eyes, right?
Will we get a figure?
A figure of this Boba Fett?
No, of Cobb Vanth.
Oh, if we do, I don't know. See, that's the thing. Like Mando figures, they haven't really gone past Mando, Cara, IG-11, which is just a repaint of IG-88.
Yeah, right.
And Baby Yoda. We haven't gotten any other characters. Oh, we got the Heavy Mando. And we just got the Armorer.
Yeah, the Armorer. I just.
But the Armorer, you know, that's a year after her debut. So I don't know.
I think they will, just because I think the fan reaction to this character was so high compared to other characters from season 1 that didn't get a figure. Like, I don't know. I just think that it's almost a no-brainer at this point.
Yeah, I mean, like I think especially since we don't have any movies right now. Yeah. I think it's a prime time for Mando to have more toy line and more to that toy line. So yeah, I think Cobb Vanth 100% will get a figure at some point. I just don't know when. Will it have a removable helmet? That is a huge question. Will we get a Boba Fett figure as this Boba Fett? Or will we get his inevitable reappearance at the end of the season? I don't know. Do you think Boba Fett will even show up again at the end of the season?
I think he will. Yeah.
Or do you think that'll be a tease for next season?
No, I think they've already laid that track down. They wouldn't have done it if it was like a teaser for next season. I think they would have saved that at the end of this season. So I think it's going to come into play. It's just it'd be too fan servicey to not have anything finish of it, you know, or anything come of it. And it was kind of cool to see his scarring, you know.
Do you think he'll get his armor back?
Does he want his armor back?
He's been around for 5 years at this point, you know, wandering around Tatooine. If he stayed on Tatooine this whole time, you know, why didn't he get his armor back earlier?
Because he's trying to hide. He's walked away from this lifestyle, right?
So then there you go. Why would he want his armor back in the first place? He might let Din just melt it down for armor for Baby Yoda.
Yeah. Oh, speaking of Baby Yoda, I didn't like how the child did not pull his weight in this episode. What did Baby Yoda do? Nothing. He didn't kill anything. He didn't move anything. He actually sat in the crib and actually just coo.
Yeah, he had the cutest moment in the show.
It was nice to not have Baby Yoda so heavily in the first episode.
Yeah.
Just because they didn't have to rely on him.
Absolutely.
So I'm perfectly fine with the amount of Baby Yoda that we got, because every shot with Baby Yoda in this episode was great.
Yes,
like Ernie said, like the cutest shot when he was closing the pram,
right before the whistlers.
When the whistlers came out and he's like, oh, I know what those do. Bink.
Cute kid, I must admit.
You know, like yeah, like I said, I think this episode hit the ground running. Definitely my favorite of the season so far. But no, I think this is off to a great start. I cannot wait for the next episode. It's really weird. The episode names have not been released yet. So episode 10, which is the next episode coming out on Friday, is still just chapter 10. Doesn't have a name. We know the writer is Jon Favreau, so it's going to be another Jon Favreau joint. We don't know who the director is.
Could be George Lucas.
Dave Filoni's coming back, I think, as a director, and so is Bryce Dallas Howard.
Yeah, so there's a lot of good stuff to look forward to this season. We know Cara Dune's coming back. We know Grief Karga's coming back. We know something's got to happen with, you know, with
Giancarlo's character, right?
With Moff Gideon. Like, we got to find out who that creepy woman in the hood with, you know, from the trailer is. And that's another thing about the trailer. Pretty much everything in the trailer that came out a couple of months ago was in this episode.
I'm all right with that too.
Yeah, I'm 100% okay with that. It's like, okay, like, what else are you going to surprise us with? Like, it was pretty much like the X-Wing chase, the the girl on the dock in the hood, and I think that was about it.
Yeah,
pretty much everything else was in this episode. So anyway, I'm excited for this season, guys. Thank you for coming back.
Yeah,
to do this.
It's been fun.
I'm happy to be here. Yeah,
it was nice to get the text and be like, getting the gang back together. You know, kind of jumping back into the saddle here. Guys, if you enjoyed the podcast, check us out over on Twitter, Mando Night Pod. If you want to talk to us individually, because we're all a lot more active on our own individual socials, I'm at It's the Rocketeer on Twitter. That's ITS the Rocketeer. Ernie, where can we find you?
You can find me on Instagram at Your Buddy Ernie.
And Joel?
And yes, my Twitter handle is Joel_Welch. My first name is JOEL_ my last name WELCH.
And tell us about that podcast you do too.
Oh yes, I do an informal podcast, a kind of casual, laid back, pub science fiction oriented podcast called the Sci-Fi Pubcast, which I do with a few others, and we have lots of fun. Think about intellectual bar conversations. That's what we're aiming for. Episodes come out every 2-3 weeks. So, yeah, one's coming out shortly. So, tune in.
And Chris, where can we find you?
You can find me online at The Curse of Chris.
All right, guys. Well, Ernie, play us out. Wee, 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 wee.